All right, let's just get this going. And so we got our die still here, and we're just gonna. Oh,
18.
11.
All right, so.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, whoever picks first places second and goes first, right?
Whoever
No,
picks first
that's
places second, and the other person goes first.
all right. Cool. Uh, Go ahead, pick first, place second, go second.
Pick second. What? Okay.
Pick first, place second, go second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What do I want to do? I will
Actually, I haven't thought
let
about
you.
this
I'll
one.
let you pick first.
Okay. Me first,
Ooh,
eh?
and I remember you switched up the sharpshooter, so now we got that long range quick scope. Everything's
Yeah.
range 8 now,
Oh
except for
yeah.
shattering shot, still 6.
Yep. It's which is up from 5. It's still the weaker
Yeah.
alt, so I did want it to feel a little meh. Um,
You know what? You should call it no scope.
no scope. Oh, the which
The
one?
ult.
The alt.
Yeah.
No scope. Okay. Oh wait. Okay, I'm picking first. I am going to pick the Oh yeah, my bomb is nerfed. I'm gonna pick the. I'm gonna pick the bomb.
He did it. That magma.
Yep, we're gonna do it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pick the Valk.
All right, now we ban. I am going to ban the sorcerer.
All right. I'm gonna ban the samurai.
All right. He is gone. Oh, you could just move it, and then I'll delete it. Of course, when I did this custom one, it made it bigger, so we have a lot more
Yeah.
space.
Figured I could just throw it over there. If you delete it, you delete it. If you don't, you don't. That's fine.
Because honestly, when you threw it off, I couldn't even see it anymore based on my zoom.
Yeah.
So I was like, well,
Yep.
whatever. Okay, so you banned that, so now I go back to picking. You banned a
Wait, which you ban?
I banned the
Oh, the
sorcerer.
sorcerer. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And let's see, I'm gonna pick. You took the Valk. I'm going to take the. Hmm. Ooh, that's interesting. I want to try that. I will pick the warden.
Well, all right then.
Since you took the Valk. And Who do I even want? I guess I'm between like three things.
I'm gonna pick the Dragoon.
Dragoon? Okay. He was not one of them. I'll take the... Witch Doctor.
And then Doctors of Witchery.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna grab Sharpshooter.
Okay. And I will finish with... What do you have? Basically... Oh, I'm going to take this. But more so I don't have to play against it.
Grab Berserker.
Oh, okay. Bazakades. Alright, and I will take these off. Alright, and then let's see. I picked first, so I have to place first. I will place the warden here.
Right. Valkyrie.
And then we will go Witch Doctor there.
Dragoon.
And we will place the assassin there.
Berserker.
12, 16, and 14. Alright. I was trying to remember what the other buff to the Witch Doctor was. And it is the health. Okay. So boom, boom, boom. And you go first. So. Oh, right. Okay, so you put him over there. Okay.
Not red. Blue. Yellow.
Right.
And That's fine for now. All right, your turn.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Let's see, we got Falk, Dragoon, Berserker. So we will 1, 2, 3. Move there. And oh, I could also color my pieces, huh? Purple. Okay. And what do we got? Nothing. Alright, because I picked a completely non-stacking team. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll move up there. And my extra is going to be what do I need? Yellow? Yeah. And it's your turn.
For my turn, we get a guardian, right?
No.
No? When's guardian come in?
Second exchange, so into my next turn.
Okay.
Get 2 turns without them.
Three blues and a yellow for Berserker ult.
Okay. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Copy. I'll just leave those over there. Three. Okay. That's the 2 moves. Got it.
Here you go.
All right. And then end of my turn, we get the Guardian. Alright, so my extra will be a blue to trade for purple and purple, red, yellow. It's gonna do 3 damage to everybody. Oh, 2 damage, sorry. To everyone, and 3 poison marks. So that's these 2 and 1 of those. Here, I'll copy them. Because I don't think you can, right?
I can probably see. Nope.
Okay. For whatever reason, you can't do that. So copy, and then I'll just put them over here for you. Okay. Oh, it's only 2 damage. Wait, yeah, I don't want to cheat you out of a damage there, that could matter. And then we will 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. And it is your turn. Oh, and now we have the Guardian. So go ahead and flip that. AOS, 1 less range. Health.
Got though.
Oh, right. So we'll roll 19. So it'll go over here. Extra blue?
I think so.
Okay. Oh, I just mean that was your extra?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. We'll do Ascension. And then Ascension is 4 more.
Okay.
And I'll spend a yellow to put 2 blood marks on a boss dude.
You got it. See, it jacks it up. I just sit him next to him. Where'd the other one go? Oh. Okay.
That's it.
Alright. Hold those. I'll go. Oh, and then all your people take a damage, lose a poison mark.
Hold on now.
2 and 3. We got here. Okay. We could take the extra yellow, make these a purple, and purple, yellow, red. It's gonna do Witch Doctor ult again. 2 more damage and 3 more of these. Okay. Tight. And let's see, then we will 1, 2, 3, move here. Falcon Dragoon, and we'll move here. And then it is your turn. And one of these come off.
Two more of these over here.
Okay. Brings that up to 8. One, two, three, 3, 4. Okay.
Alright. Your turn.
Alright.
I'll get rid of 3 of these.
Red, blue, yellow. Extra blue. That's gonna turn into a purple. We will 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then alt the berserker for 8 damage.
Yep.
And then I move an extra one, so that extra one's gonna go there.
Wait, I thought the extra one was before the ult.
No, you can use it. It's just in the move, before or after. And I just have red left. The other free move will be the Warden. 1, 2, 3. Nah. 1, 2, 3. And it's your turn. And another one of these come off. Oh, and we got -5. Jumping.
All right, cool. Your turn.
All right. 2, 3. And let's see. 14. I'll move there. Extra will be red. And we'll attack the boss. 4, 5. Oh wait, do we even have to do that? No. We will. What do we have here? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3. And actually want an extra yellow. And it's your go. Oh, and one of these come off. Oh, come on. Thank you. All right, Sharp's back there.
All right, I'm gonna quick shot the assassin.
Blue. Wait, why'd you spend all this?
Because I'm also gonna jump the dragoon.
Oh, gotcha. So quick shot the assassin. Where are we at here?
Yeah.
It's
and
7.
Then I just move 3.
7 range.
8 range. But yeah, he's 7 away.
Eos is out. Oh, he's 7 away though.
Yeah.
3, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 2 damage, right?
Yep.
Got it.
Cool. Your turn.
All right. Do 1, 2, 3. We got. We will take extra blue for purple. We will move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Spend a yellow. Shadow sprint here. Alt the dragoon to kill him. Move an extra one back this way. Or, yeah, we'll go that way. No, we'll go this way. And remove there. And your turn.
Helping strike the warden.
Alright, that's no yellow. And 1 damage.
Oh, forgot my energy.
You got enough reds over there? Or?
Yes, I will quick scope the assassin. Then I'm going to survey and mark him.
Okay.
Oh, your turn.
Alright. Take 1, 2, 3. Alright. We'll move here. Do 5 damage to the Valk. Then I don't have to move. We'll pull and transpose to then kill her. That's 3 more. Yep. And about wraps it up. You agree?
Yeah.
All right. So let's hear it.
Oh, do you need me to say anything?
All right. So is the it's too strong? You think?
I don't know. I mean, you did drop 30 damage on me by turn 3.
Okay, it wasn't 30 damage, but
So 3 poison counters plus 2 damage each. That's 5 damage times 3. That's 15, and you rolled it twice.
If you get
Was 15 times 2?
the marks off, okay. So we
Oh yeah.
we got 4 damage.
So what's my play to keep the markers on again? How do I do that? Is that a yellow?
To keep the what?
Yeah, to keep the markers from coming off. You said it only does the damage if they come off, so obviously there's a way to keep them from coming off, right?
Oh no.
Oh, my bad. I misunderstood. So it's still 30 damage.
No. Okay, it would be 30 total damage.
Yeah.
For what's that? Was that 2 ults?
Yeah.
2 ults. Okay. All right. Well, he's definitely definitely he's pretty good now. Okay. So let's see. If I take even if the damage goes down 1. Okay, the way I'm looking at this is, let's see, because it hits everyone, so I do have to multiply that damage. 6 damage.
I figure anytime there's an ult that hits the whole team, you're gonna want to use it as soon as possible, because if you wait till later, then maybe they won't have 3 people on board. Maybe you've killed 1 already or something.
Yeah.
So maybe you're wasting damage at that point. So you want to use it early when there's still 3 people on board, preferably when there's a guardian on board too. But you didn't wait for that. So yeah, it's probably gonna be multiplied by 3. That's 5 damage times 3.
Because of the drops. Or are you talking about the damage?
And it's infinite range. There's no way for me to kite it.
Right.
There's no way for me to do anything about it. High damage, infinite range moves already are going to be problematic every time. Okay. Every time you come up with one of those, they're going to be a problem. And it just depends on whether or not the problem is worth it. And then when you add on top of that that it hits the whole team, that's already a second problem.
Okay, so what about this? So I guess I'm looking at, based on what you just told me, I'm looking at two things. So I could either make it only hit one person from infinite range.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's one way
Right.
to go about it because that's basically the Sharp's ult at
Right.
that point.
But less damage. And
One less damage, yeah.
one less damage, and it happens over the course of 3 turns instead of.
Yeah, I think at that point it might be too weak because like you said,
Oh
it's
yeah,
over
that's
a bunch
I
of
would I would
turns.
have to probably up the damage. I don't know, a little bit.
Either up the damage or lower the cost or
Right,
something.
right, or something like that. Yeah. So or what if I took the damage off and it was just 3 marks, but I also took the red off and it just cost a purple and a yellow to do three
I don't know.
marks to the team, because that's still 3 damage to the team over the course of 3 turns.
I'm trying to compare it to like other abilities that exist within the game. So like if you compare it to Hydronaut,
Mm-hmm.
Hydronaut is basically this. It's similar
Similar.
because Hydronaut is a tricky one to me because unlike other like team affecting global ults, you don't necessarily want to pop it immediately because
Right.
otherwise you're wasting out on the heal.
Right. Right.
But if you wait too long to pop it, then again you might be wasting or just dying before you can pop it anyway.
Right.
Um, but Hydronaut is a team wide. If you think about healing as like inverse damage, it's
Right.
basically a team wide like 4 damage swing.
Right. Right.
So
Because it
like
is
4 times 3, that's like 12 damage. But Hydronaut, I feel like, has two things that kind of balance that out. First off, the Hydronaut has no other damage on his card whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're already like sacrificing damage by bringing him.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Second off, like I said, you can't really use it to its full effect right away, and most of the time I feel like you're not going to be able to use it to its full effect because most teams probably aren't going to be trying to spread damage to your whole team unless they are playing like Witch Doctor or Sorcerer. They're going to be trying to focus one person down.
Right.
So usually you're just going to get one person healed and 2 damage to everybody. So really, instead of being 12, it's going to be like 8.
8, maybe 10 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like Hydronauts is pretty fairly balanced. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like what we did with Sorcerer, that's pretty balanced now too, because you can't just like blow it up turn 2 and just like nuke the whole enemy team, because
Mm-hmm.
you have to wait and stack it if you really want to make it worthwhile.
Right.
Which also then makes it much more expensive. So if you're talking about like comparing Witch Doctor to Sorcerer, for Sorcerer to do 5 damage to the whole enemy team, he's gonna have to stack for 4 turns
Mm-hmm.
and then pop his ult, and his ult's a purple and a red. So you're talking a purple, a red, and
Four.
four
Four
blues
blues.
for the same damage that Plague Doctor does, and it's going to take 4 turns. Plague Doctors takes 3 turns,
Mm.
and Plague Doctors takes 3 turns after you've already popped it, not before you popped it. So, like with Sorcerer, if you see me stacking Sorcerer, you can try and kill him before I'm done stacking. You can try and like seal him with Warden or Valkyrie. You can
Mm-hmm.
try and put some kind of counterplay down. You can try and force me to spend energy on other shit so I can't do it. Witch Doctor, you can't counterplay it. If you have the energy, you just go boom play. And like now I just have the counters on me and there's nothing I can do about it. I can't Valk them off. I can't I can't do anything about them. They're just there and I'm gonna take that damage. So at best I can be like, oh well shit, I guess I'm gonna blitz you now and try and win before the poison kills me. But then you have a warden, so the whole pace of the game goes down to like
Right.
snail's pace. So I'm,
Right.
I'm just
Right.
fucked. As soon as
Yeah.
I saw you pick Witch Doctor Warden and then you had Assassin behind it, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, game's over.
I didn't know if I was gonna play the witch first, and
I was pretty sure you were gonna. Like,
I
why
was
wouldn't
actually
you?
gonna play bomb, but you first picked Valk, so I was like,
Well, yeah.
okay. Well, I'll just pick
Like
my.
that was pretty much the exact thing I was thinking. I was like, oh, you
Yeah.
pick Bomb. I'll pick Valk so he can't just like
Right.
do a bunch of stacking bullshit again. And then you picked a bunch of shit that wasn't stacking, so I'm like,
Right.
oh well, he'll just probably put Bomb off the table. And
Yeah.
now what do I have? I have Valkyrie, who's basically a dead pick now.
Yep. Definitely. Which
Um,
was the play there. That
I
one
really
wasn't
hate
stacking.
this kind of counter pick. The counter pick where it's like, if I counter pick this, we're both fucked. Because you're fucked out of the character you want to play, and I'm fucked into taking Valkyrie, who sucks.
I still think the Valk is pretty decent though, especially against my
I
team.
don't.
Now with yours spread out, like her by herself, yeah, because mine were kind of grouped
Valkyrie
together.
against Warden. Valkyrie is just a shittier version of the Warden. She has
Mm,
the same abilities except their melee range, and she doesn't get any extra movement, and she basically doesn't have an ult.
okay, I'll give you. She basically doesn't have an ult.
And then Warden also, let's see, if I flip him, he has a 3 damage ability and he
Mm-hmm.
has an execute. Valk has a 1 damage ability and a 2 damage
So you
ability.
have three
Uh,
damage for.
and neither of them stop movement either. So I can't even lock somebody down with the Valk. I can just be like, you can't spend
Yeah, except
blues, I guess,
yeah, and
which
yellows.
doesn't really stop you from doing anything.
So you literally beat out the warden though, because I can't do any moves without yellows.
Yeah, except the Warden also has a shit ton of movement and range, which means I can't do that unless you let me, basically.
Well, he only
Because
has
if I,
three moves compared to her four, but he gets the extra
yeah,
three
but
on
he
the four.
can spend energy to move, basically. So, like, if I try and move the Valkyrie towards the Warden just goes to the Valk and locks her down. So she's useless. She's just dead here. But then I was like, oh, well, if I bring out the Sharp, he's just going to Plague and then Assassin the Sharp, and I just lose a character immediately. Or I can try and like keep the Sharp in the middle of my team and
Mm-hmm.
like not move apart, and then
Right.
like I'm fucked anyway. Like I don't know. I didn't say once the picks came out, I didn't really see any kind of strategy
Right.
that was viable here.
After, especially after when I saw that they were all three spread out, it was just like, oh well, then no matter what, I can just ult twice. I'm gonna get two ults off because I can't spend the energy anyways.
Yeah, and I mean,
And
like, I couldn't really threaten you with anything because I felt like any character I moved up was just going to die because, like, the characters that you have, you can put down enough damage and CC that, like, any character I move up just dies. Um,
yeah,
because as long as you have an ult, you can easily just assassin execute, or you can like toxify stab, or you can do anything like a little bit of energy and one of my dudes dies. Um, so like the only play I was thinking about was like maybe if I can just not die to plague long enough, I can just bounce up and down with the dragoon until maybe
mm-hmm,
he's powerful enough to kill something.
yeah.
Because Berserker's not going to do anything. Like honestly, I feel like Berserker should just kind of be removed from the game. It would solve a lot of issues because I feel like there's characters right now that without the Berserker could be nerfed and be better for the game, but because the Berserker exists, those characters have to be more powerful. Like I feel like
Yeah.
Warden's a big one.
Oh, okay. I think, if I'm honest with you, I think Warden is just really strong in general, regardless of the Berserker. Because I didn't pick the Warden in lieu of Berserker, but I was like, well, he's definitely not going to pick the Berserker now that I have the Warden. But
Yeah, I just didn't see any viable picks, honestly. I was just like, oh,
I mean, literally
what am I even
anything
gonna pick?
other than Berserker would have been good. But
Not really.
I
Like there
mean,
just weren't any good picks.
the Assassin was there, and the Alchemist was there, and you had
Yeah, but
Valk,
you had Warden. Like,
and you had the Valk though, so I couldn't have stopped your stacking. Like,
but Assassin doesn't stack.
no, the I'm talking about the Alchemist. Like you've seen me do. Like he
Oh, well,
does.
you just plague twice and the Alchemist is dead.
Except the Alchemist can heal himself, so he literally can outpace the Witch Doctor in every way.
Yeah, but I can't heal myself and stack on the same turn.
No,
So,
but you wouldn't need to because the DOT is that's one off every turn. You take two damage from the ult, yeah. So one blue and
yeah,
you
but if I have to
heal.
keep healing, then I can't stack. And if I keep stacking, then he's going to be super low health and then die to whatever.
I think you're missing that he deals with the Witch Doctor pretty well, as does the Hydro. I mean, there were picks to be made.
Yeah, I don't want to do double tank team though. That's just a death sentence. Trying to pick Valk and then Hydro, like I'll just forfeit. Like that's better.
Uh, okay, all right.
You just at such a huge disadvantage if you're picking two tanks. Like
But not always. You just aren't. Like I've definitely played. two tank teams, and they definitely work. I've played against two tank teams. The game I lost against Gary, he was double tank, matter of fact, and that was on stream. Um, I mean, a lot of these tanks actually work pretty well together. Valk is a niche in that aspect. Valk doesn't work well with another tank, per se. Not like Hydro and Warden or Hydro and Pally
The
or
only reason to bring Valk is her ult, and as soon as you pick Valk and the other person goes like, "Oh, I just won't bring stackers," then you feel bad for picking Valk.
there's some truth to that, yeah.
Like I don't know. It's never felt good picking Valk. Like at best, it's like, okay, cool. Now he won't stack, and it's like, ah, well, that's a thing.
Okay. Um. All right. So suggestions. Cause this one, yeah, sure. This one was a done deal from draft, probably. But as far as what you saw, so obviously a nerf to the Witch Doctor's alt and some sort of change to either. I feel like the maybe 3 marks and no damage. I feel like I do have to take the damage off.
I still don't like Sharp, but I don't think Sharp's bad.
Oh,
I just don't
okay.
like
You
Sharp.
still don't like Sharp. Okay.
It's just I don't know. It feels bad to me.
Okay.
Like not like a bad character, just like a character I don't like.
Okay. Dang. I thought you might like the Sharp.
No, it's too slow. It's too expensive.
So the range increase didn't help. I mean, it didn't help in your case, of course, this game because you played her in reserve. So when she came up, I already had people there.
Well, I mean, like by the time Sharp came out, I'm like sitting over here with this huge pile of energy and going, "Oh, cool! I just no place for me to spend this now. Like I can do this and do like 2 damage." It's like, all right,
I
cool.
was
I
a
guess
little
I'll do my 2 damage.
surprised that you didn't like, because you did have a lot of energy. That you didn't just like flip alt.
If I had stayed in place to flip ult, then the assassin would have just moved up and killed her. Like not doing that bought me a second turn with the Sharp.
Stayed in place, then I would have. I'm not sure what you
Because
mean.
I was 7 away from the assassin, right? So if I just flipped and ulted,
And then move.
then the assassin can move up, shadow step, ult, and kill the Sharp.
Well, I was like here, right? Like what? Like here or
You were
something?
you were 7 spaces away. So if I move my max of 3, I could be at most 10 spaces away from you.
Yeah.
And because melee technically has a range of 1, you only need to move 9. So you could move 5, shadow step, ult, and that's 9.
Yeah, I would still. Yeah, like no matter where you were at, I was gonna be able to catch you. Is what I'm saying. So you staying there or moving 3 wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah.
Like as far as me getting to you, but I didn't have the energy to, like 13 damage you. Um, but I mean, regardless, like the assassin was up there, so he was gonna be able to get to your sharpshooter. But I didn't know why you put her in reserve and led with 2 melees. Right? Who was your other one? No, Berserker.
I was Berserker Dragoon.
Yeah. And then they were, yeah.
I was hoping I could use the Berserker skill to like heal himself. I was worried if I put Sharpshooter out first, she would just die way too fast.
Hmm. Okay. Which I mean, which isn't a terrible idea. Like, so if I were you and you wanted to run that, like with that mindset, that's not a terrible mindset, honestly. Like to keep her back for that reason. But I think her new version with the range, she does better early because she can hit people like, well, maybe not the assassin because he can cover so much space, but she can typically hit people before they can get in real close and get those pot shots in that can matter a little more and create that threat of spacing before the distance has been closed, you know? And then if she's coming in later, like 9 times out of 10 that distance has already been made.
Yeah, I mean, even without the assassin there, the warden is still an issue because he can move so far.
Yeah. And then if you were going to run double melee, I would have grouped them, not separated them. Because then it creates I can't hit both of 14 health people and like kill them without one of them making me pay for it.
Well, I mean, with the Dragoon, it wasn't a big deal to have them split like that because the Dragoon can go so far.
But the
I
thing
was
is, like,
like,
I didn't have to worry about the Dragoon making me pay for it because he still had to cross the map. And don't get me wrong, he still crosses it in like 2 turns, but I had 2 turns to just like kill this berserker because my people were grouped. So just jump on the berserker and
well, I
then
mean, really, you only needed one character to do it anyway.
oh yeah, well yeah, because I had the witch doctor, so he had put damage down beforehand. But I'm just talking in general strategy, not just like versus this, because two melee does work. It's just what you have to do. I feel like when you run double melee is close the
Bigger
distance.
damage is even if I was going to play double melee,
hmm
Dragoon Berserker is bad. It's just really bad
I don't.
because
Yeah, I don't think
they're
it's that
competing
good.
for too much energy.
Yeah, like the picks together, they do not work well together at all because of that. Because you can't realistically stack and get your marks like regularly because the conflicting energy. Yeah, that's a rough combo to run anytime. But I mean, I don't know. You learn the more you play. Uh, and you say now I don't know if that's the salt talking, but you said just remove the berserker.
Never feels good to play the Berserker because either he's not countered and it's just like, oh, I guess he just deletes people all game now. Or he is countered and it's like, oh, I guess he just doesn't do anything all game now.
That's probably true though, honestly. And I
He's just too
never
way too binary. There's never a game where the Berserker's just good. He's either impossible or
useless.
completely useless.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with that Valk. There's the Valk and the Berserker right now. It's like either you put them down and it's like, haha, this fucking wins me the game right now. Or you put it down and it's like, ah, this does nothing all game right now.
As a berserker, yeah, berserker is definitely kind of like that. Um,
It's like I feel like with the Valk, her three abilities are super redundant. Because if I can't block your movement, blocking yellow is really only useful for blocking like buff and movement abilities. And her ult already gets rid of buffs. And then blocking blue is only ever really useful for getting rid of buff abilities. And her ult already gets rid of buff abilities.
but that's not all that those do though. Like I hear what you're saying though, but blues stop any sort of so like even if it's just flips, like that makes it where that person can't even flip or they can't jump. Like that's still movement, and then the yellow is still movement and utility. So there are other moves that use blues for more than just like buffs, like the Hydro's yellows. He needs those.
I mean, like compared to the Warden, like the Warden can move up, bind you. He gets a free move away, and you can't use yellows, and you can't move. That character's basically dead now. The Valkyrie moves up, hits you for one, and it's like, you can't spend yellows. It's like, all right, cool. Who cares?
But it does matter though. Like it really does matter.
It does, but it doesn't matter enough most of the time.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like, okay, so here's the thing. The main
Mm-hmm.
reason to pick the Valkyrie is for her ult, right? Like, we agree that. Like,
I'd say that's her
her
biggest
main
asset.
usage is as a counter pick against people pulling like stacking and shielding.
Mm-hmm.
How many stacking or shielding characters? Like, okay, so first off,
There's quite a few.
you're basically always going to pick the Valkyrie as a second or third pick. Like no one's first picking Valkyrie because that's stupid.
Yeah, that's dumb.
So like, let's say you pick Bombardier and I
Mm-hmm.
pick Valk. So now her ult is useful as long as you decide to put him out and
Right.
not sideboard him.
Now, see, I don't think.
Her ult is useful to keep him from multiple turn stacking. It doesn't keep him from stacking this turn.
Right.
He can like stockpile and then shoot, and it doesn't stop him from doing that. It would be really cool if it did. Like maybe if her ult was like to lock stacking so that you couldn't get more stacks. Like maybe it would feel more impactful.
Hmm.
And it's definitely good if you're playing some of the characters that are more reliant on stacking up, like Sorcerer, like this fucking neuters Sorcerer.
Right.
Or if you pick her as a third pick after you had picked, like, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
Bomb Alchemist, and then I'm like, haha, Valkyrie. But if you're
Right.
going to do that, I don't know why you wouldn't have just banned her.
Right. And,
Um,
and and I do get that sentiment too because that there's some weight to that, because like you said, you wouldn't first pick Falk, but that's exactly what you did.
no, you pick Bomb, and then I pick Valk.
Yeah, but that's still your first pick. So after I see that, no, I'm not drafting another stacker because I see that, that your goal is to stop my stacking. So I'm not going to like draft two stackers and put myself at a detriment. Like that
But
doesn't
then
make
I
sense.
have to guess whether or not you're going to ban Valk and then pick another stacker. And at that point, I better have picked stackers too. So like on my pick, I
Mm-hmm.
either have to pick Valk or I have to pick a stacker. And I wasn't sure what stacker I wanted to pick,
Mm-hmm.
so I picked Valk.
I mean, I see the train of thought. I'm just saying, like, obviously, you see what I picked
Yeah,
after I saw Valk. It's like, okay, so I'll pick no one else who stacks.
right. But that's not my point right here. My point is like once this plays out, like you
Mm-hmm.
pick one or two stackers, I pick Valk to say, okay, I don't want you doing that.
Right.
So now either you can say, well, I'm going to play Bomb anyway, and I'll just only ever stack once, so I can just stack and shoot. And that's still a good card at this point because he's not Sorcerer, he's
Mm-hmm.
Bomb. He's
Right.
still
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
At which point her ult is useless. Um, and her 1 and 2 don't really do much to stop Bomb from being good. Like, first off, she would have to get to him and probably get shot once or twice before getting there.
Maybe once or twice, because Bomb's been cut down pretty good. Only two move and four range. So
Well, yeah, I
she's
mean, it's actually 5 range, but it's a cross.
because it's a plus. Yeah. So I'll give you that. It's
Yeah.
five.
Or if you could use ult, it's 7 range. So,
Right. And we're talking about
and,
crossing the map with the Valkyrie four move.
yeah. And I'm assuming that I would be moving up most, if not all, of my team towards the bomb at that point. Um, by the time I get to the bomb, I don't want to be wasting energy on fucking halting strike. I want to kill him. Because if I don't kill him, he still gets to shoot me again next turn and probably kill one of my
Yeah,
characters.
but see, to
Because
be
he's probably
fair,
already gotten one
you
or two
should be
shots off.
probably Bane blading, not halting striking at all. And that's 2 damage for 1 energy, and they can't use the blues, so I can't be doing any more stacking once you get there.
Right. Yeah.
But
So even assuming I'm not playing double tank,
mm-hmm.
if I have like let's say Valkyrie Dragoon and some other character, instead of wasting a red on Baneblade, I'm gonna put it on the Dragoon and Pierce. Or I'm gonna put it on whoever my other character is and do better damage.
And when you do that, like when you choose damage over utility, that's the cost you pay, because you take the risk of taking a lot more damage. Like that is
Assuming I can't kill the bomb, but the
that's the
bomb's only got
trade.
12 health.
Right.
And as we've seen from you putting together team comps,
Mm-hmm.
like once you commit to attacking somebody, like they die. Like that's how this game plays out. There's not very many attacks that don't result in a death. Because if you commit to an attack and you don't kill that person, you have made a strategic error. And I feel like Baneblade doesn't do enough to keep that character from, because like you can do stuff with Warden. Like I've seen this happen in games where you like move Warden up and lock somebody, and then you use your other characters to move forward and commit to an attack and kill someone. That works because the Warden's utility is enough that that character is actually locked down.
Mm-hmm.
Valk can't do that. Like if Valk moves up and Baneblades the Bombardier and I try and kill somebody else on your team, the Bombardier can still do good damage next turn.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like he could still ult or something.
So, it would just be so we think the Valk needs to be a little more impactful. I would agree.
No, I think the Valk has plenty of impact. It's just that her impact is too binary.
Okay.
Like all of her impact is tied up in her ult, and her ult either wins you the game or does nothing.
Okay.
Like this isn't an argument about whether or not she's powerful. She's obviously powerful. She is a very strategically important card. She's just not a strategically interesting card.
Okay. So, okay, because my what I am looking for here is for her to be impactful. If she is impactful, at this time, I'm not extremely concerned with how interesting it is if it works as a tank. Because my goal for all of these designs has been to try to make.
Well, I mean, if you compare her to the other tanks right now, I feel
Yeah.
like most of the other tanks are much more interesting.
Okay.
And there is power disparity. I feel like the Warden is definitely the Warden and the Paladin are definitely the two best tanks right now, other than maybe Hydro. Hydro might be up there.
But that's literally all
Um,
four tanks. Okay.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Warden and Paladin are the best. Hydro might be competitive with them, and then Valkyrie, like, she's just a strategic on-off switch. It's like stacking on, stacking off.
Okay. And then you mentioned something before about how maybe more people should be able to remove buffs or something like that.
Well, I was thinking, like, if she's going to be the no buffs character, like, she should either lean into it more, so where like her whole kit interacts with buffs, or maybe even give her some kind of debuffing ability or lock buffs or something like that.
Yeah, you said that, and I think that's actually a really good idea. So maybe I'll make a token that locks buffs on her ult, right? So maybe she ults
Yeah.
and it takes all the buffs like now, and also locks it for even if we made it 2 turns, that would make that really strong. I feel like
I feel like that would almost be too strong at that point.
too
If it was
strong
just lock it for a turn, that would already be super strong.
because that's what for a purple.
Because I feel like what would happen there is ideally, strategically, what you would want to do is pop her ult right before a fight starts. And ideally, you would be using that against a team that's running at least one character that's at least semi-reliant on stacks.
Yeah.
So if I did that and you had one character on your team that had either A, already had some stacks on them, or B, is hoping to use a stack in the battle on the next turn, and I pop my ult and then go in and attack that dude, like now he has a whole turn where it's like, shit, I can't do what I wanted to do, and I'm getting attacked. Shit.
Right.
If it was 2 whole turns, it's like, it might as well just be like, murder that character.
Yeah, it's like don't it, yeah, I was gonna say, does it change the dynamic? And at least it does, because like you said, if it's like before a
But
fight.
that's still, I feel like that still makes her just an ult.
Right,
Like
because
she feels more like an ult than a character right now. Like all she does is ult. Oh, that's all I care about.
So what I had before, but again, I don't know that it would help change her too much, is instead of the energy locks, she had buff steals. So like she would take a buff. It was hard to like depict on the card though, because her range is like the circle around her.
Yeah.
Is she could take an ult from, or take a attack up or a shield. Like there is one for each ability. You could take one off and give it to either yourself or an ally that's in that circle. So it encouraged moving with the Valk. But then it runs into, if they don't have the ult, I mean, they still did damage like they do now.
But one thing I think would be an interesting thing here would be like, so her ult is, I'm gonna shut off your abilities. Her whole shtick is like, keep the enemy team from getting stronger. I think making it so that she makes her team stronger would be like kind of anti-thematic for her. because like she's all about removing buffs. If she also put buffs on, it would be like a little bit too much double duty. It feels like,
Okay.
because not only would I be able to keep you from getting buffs, I would with the same pick also be able to buff my own team. Like it feels like too much.
Right. And it's not as much as you might think. But I get what you're saying, at least like on paper, because like that turned out to be not very useful at all, and that's why I got changed. It was like so few and far between that you would even get a buff stolen off, let alone have somebody right there next to you to receive that buff, and it's only one that they're taking off. So
Like most of the characters right now that have like good ults, the ult is either something that complements their other abilities or is a stronger version of their other abilities. And some of those work out good and some of them don't, because I feel like right now the Valkyrie's ult is in a way a stronger version of her other abilities. But
in a way, okay, I could see that.
yeah, it's not exactly, and it's not in like a meaningful way. Whereas like if you look at Witch Doctor, like the Witch Doctor's ult is basically just the badass version of Toxify.
Right, right.
Um, And like Warden, I feel like Warden's ult complements his other abilities because Warden can move up, lock people down, keep people from doing anything, kind of play the attrition game where like maybe you get a couple pot shots on them and move around and keep them locked down. And then once they get under 7 health, he can execute them.
Because I feel like honestly, like I like the Warden and the kit, but I think his ult has nothing to do with the rest of his kit. I have a tank
Thematically,
that can
no.
kill someone. Not even
Yeah,
thematically.
I don't think his ult thematically fits his kit at all, but strategically it does because it can't do any damage, but it lets you take a character that's been locked down for a few turns and has maybe taken some damage from other things and finish them off. So like strategically it works out pretty well for him. Like because you're not going to use transpose very often, so the Warden's probably not going to be doing much damage on his own. But like if you have like say you had Warden Sharpshooter or something like that, you get hit with quick shot a couple times every now and then because it's cheap. Like you just had a spare red laying around, cool, quick shot. And Warden's keeping somebody locked down, and then like, oh shit, they're under 8 health now. Cool, just execute them.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think the Warden does need nerfs, though. I probably would just it's an easy nerf too. I would just nerf bind. So can't move, no yellows. He doesn't get any move. Flip that. And that's really it, honestly. Like I think that makes him like really like extra strong. Let's see.
It's kind of like you always talk about with the assassin, where it's a very like risk reward card. He moves very fast, he does a lot of damage, but if you use his move fast to go in and do damage, then he can't get back out, and he's squishy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like the Warden is zero risk, all reward, because he just moves up, slingshots over to somebody, locks them down, and moves away before they can do anything.
Right. Yeah.
So
I would
he's
just.
not doing any damage, but he's slowing everything down.
Yeah. Still very impactful. I'll put that in my working notes, and I'll do.
So it's not even that he's like high reward. I feel like he's moderate reward, but he's zero risk
Well,
moderate
yeah. There's
reward.
no risk though. Yeah. There's definitely no risk involved there. Let's see. Working changes. Nerf.
I still don't know what I think about Witch Doctor. Like I feel like Witch Doctor's too powerful right now, but I don't know how you would bring Witch Doctor down without making Witch Doctor bad.
Yeah, because I don't like when I played that first game with him. I know he didn't get much shine, but I still felt it, and it was like, oh, you do nothing. You do absolutely like nothing that matters in time, because it takes so long for his damage to come out. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
the ult is like really good, but the rest of that, it was like, I mean,
Well, the ult is mainly good because you can get it out so early and it does so much damage over the course of the game. Like even if you just ult once on turn 2,
mm-hmm,
that's 15 damage now. Like
yeah,
oof. Like now
yeah,
I have to come back from a 15 health deficit basically. Like it's not all at once, but it's over the next 3 turns. 3 turns isn't that long. Like The game's not going to end in the next 3 turns.
And that's
Like even Toxify is insane. It's 1 red for 4 damage, basically. The fact that it trickles in over 3 turns, again, like it makes it strategically weird because it's like, yes, you technically did 4 damage, but if you can kill that character in the next 3 turns, it doesn't matter because they're not going to be alive for all 4 damage. And if you can't kill them in the next 4 turns, then something has probably gone horribly wrong.
yeah, cause like I'm looking at Toxify, like you have to think about the like he has to be in there still.
Like Witch Doctor Warden, I feel like is the ultimate team up because you can lock somebody down with Warden and then do super budget damage with Witch Doctor while they're locked down. Because you could bind somebody and then just hit them with Toxify. And you've only
Yeah,
wasted 1 energy on it. You can still use your other character for whatever else you want to do. And that character is taking tons of damage from Toxify.
yeah, Toxify.
Like most characters, like other than a tank, you can Toxify them 1 time, wait, and then just execute them.
4 damage.
Well, I mean, like with transpose.
Oh, okay.
So you would toxify them and then later on transpose execute. Or even just toxify them twice. That's the cheaper option. Just hit them with tox twice, wait till they hit 7 health, and execute them.
Yeah, definitely a workable thing.
Um,
Hmm.
any
With
12 health character, you can ult and then just lock them down with the ward and wait till they hit 7 and execute.
yeah, 3 turns is a lot longer than I think you're thinking though. Like 3 turns is a good amount of time.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's not
There's
like
a
a,
lot that
oh
could go on.
I'll just lock
And that
them
was kind of
down.
my point was like if you find a way to make the 3 turns actually play out, the Witch Doctor's super awesome. But
Yeah,
if you can't find a way to make those 3 turns play out, he's not great.
right. Which I think is where it brings in where it's like okay, so it's not like super jacked. The ult is super jacked, I know, but I'm talking about just the rest, the other part of the kits though. I think that will make it okay. So I don't think I need to change anything that's in there, considering range and how much time it takes to actually deal that damage, and for what cost it is to deal that damage. I think the first 2 abilities are fine, and realistically, I'm probably just going to take the flat damage off of Plague and take the red cost off of Plague, and it'll cost a purple and a
Purple and a
yellow.
yellow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to do 3
Yeah,
marks.
that might be workable.
Yeah, and I think that'll be fine, and it'll be more fair. Cause don't get me wrong, like I'm thinking about like I'm not trying to balance in a way that I sort of did when I first was making this. Which of
Even
course,
like really honestly thinking about balance much right now. I'm just thinking about like if I pick a card for a reason, like does
mm-hmm,
it actually do that?
mm-hmm,
And if it doesn't do that, did I pick it for the wrong reason or is it just that that card isn't doing like what it should be doing? And is it because I did it wrong or is it because the ability isn't doing like what it's supposed to do? I feel like Valk is in a weird spot because Valk does exactly what I want it to do every time I pick it, but every time I do that, I regret having done that.
ah,
It's like, hey, I want to remove this option from the game, and then that option's removed from the game, and I'm like, cool, that's pretty boring.
yeah, I would go jump to Valk to on one stacker. I just wouldn't, no matter which one it was. I need at least 2 before I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pick the Valk.
I mean, even if you had done Bomb and then Alk, and then I picked Valk, like, it wouldn't have made anything more interesting. Like, it might have given me a better chance to win because, like, your team wouldn't have been quite as stacked, but it's like, Valk is still boring.
Okay, boring is one thing, as long as they're useful. Some people like boring because as long as it gets the job done. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the thing it's one of the reasons I've kind of gotten away from playing Magic the Gathering is
mm-hmm,
because like Okay, so the main way I've been playing Magic the Gathering recently is through MTG Arena. And MTG Arena, because it has like ranked modes and ladders and shit like that, it forces people to play competitively. Like you can't just play a casual deck and just play to have fun because you want to get your like daily missions done, you want to earn your currency, you want to earn ladder points and shit. So you're going to try and put something together that's competitive. But the problem is competitive Magic the Gathering, a lot of times, like you said, you're making effective choices and you're making competitive choices, but they're not interesting choices.
Mm.
You end up playing a more boring game than I'm really interested in playing. So it's kind of killed my motivation to play the game because I can't play the version of the game that's fun to me.
Right. And I get that. And I think realistically though that happens to anything that you end up trying to play competitive is it's going to come down to are you going to play are you playing to win
Well, I mean,
or
it's not even just necessarily that. Like,
cuz
for
there's always
example,
going to be
like
stuff that's going to be
with
a little
Magic the
boring.
Gathering, you could play like I could just be like, oh, I'm just gonna play red decks now, and I'm gonna play super kinetic like red decks that do a lot of damage and put bunches of shit out, and that's a very more interesting game. But that's not like the style that I want to play. I want to play my blue black control and make crazy combos and shit happen. And there's decks that do that competitively, but most of the ones that do it competitively do it in a very like shitty manner, if you know what I mean. Like they're shitty to play against. They basically try and lock down the board state as much as possible. They make the game play out very, very slowly. They kind of like just suck the enjoyment out of the game. And that's not how I want to play either. It's kind of like if you were playing a fighting game and the only competitive viable characters were zoners, it would be like, yeah, I could play a zoner. And if I want to like climb ladder, I have to play a zoner, but I don't want to play a zoner.
Yeah. And that's why I said like I do get that because I was just going to say like it's the same in fighting games. It's like well, I say most fighting games is there tends to be an upper echelon.
Yeah. And I think in most like fighting games that tend to succeed in a competitive arena, the upper echelon at least has a few different archetypes in it. Like if you look at Street Fighter, you have stuff like Akuma, Guile, Urien, Bison. Like you have at least several different archetypes and different playstyles represented in the upper echelons of like competitive high tier characters. Um, so like I guess what I'm saying is I kind of agree with what you're saying. Like it's okay for there to be boring characters that exist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just wish there weren't. Like
Right. Right. I get that.
I mean it's the same thing with fighting games. Like not everybody wants to play Guile and not everybody wants to play against Guile, but like the game's not dead because Guile exists.
Right. Exactly.
And maybe the Valkyrie is just Guile in this situation. Like
Okay. Because the Valk could maybe afford to use some. Because I do think of the four, she's probably the weakest overall because it's
I,
overall.
I don't know. I think like strategically she's probably tied with the Warden for most powerful because there's a whole class of characters that the Valkyrie just comes on board and just says those characters don't do shit now.
Yeah.
Good luck with your team comp.
Yeah.
Like, but she does it in like I don't know. Maybe it's the wrong way to say it, but she does it in the worst way possible. She just turns shit off.
Yeah. It's like no, no more of this, or it's like well, you better not get that too high. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, is I'll pick, depending on what else they pick with it, I'll still pick stackers and then force
Yeah.
their energy out.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we were talking about earlier about like, if she locked stacking, and I'm thinking about it now, and like you're saying, like if she locked stacking, then you probably wouldn't do that. Because not only would it be like, oh, I'm just gonna stack a few, and like she takes them, but it'll cost them energy.
Right.
Because not only is she gonna take them, she's also gonna lock it. So it's like it's super not worth it at that point because it might be worth it for the Valk player to ult just for the lock, even if you didn't stack.
Right.
Whereas if you have a stacking character, you might be willing to play that kind of game of chicken where you're like, I'm going to stack once. Is that worth ulting to you?
All right. How about two?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. 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 And that is the dance for sure. Um. Yeah, cause I get that, and it's like you look at some of these classes, it's like dang, they do like this thing really well, but like when I'm designing all of these, it's like each I compare them amongst themselves. So all the tanks, they all do something different.
Yeah.
All of them. It's harder to do that because when you're just comparing utility, it's a lot easier to separate them. When we're talking
Hmm.
about like damage, like the melee and then the range classes, I still compare them amongst themselves and I try to have them do damage and something else, something
Yeah.
different, so that they're different. So I'm okay with her being a little binary even because like it covers a larger net than just like it's not like she stops
Yeah.
two characters. It's like almost half the cast that she impacts potentially,
Yeah.
right? She creates a threat level that I think is just
And it's to different levels. Like if
right,
you play Valk against Samurai, like she has an impact.
right,
Samurai can't just sit there and stack now, but it's not a huge impact because Samurai still has a plenty decent kit, even if you took the stacking off of it.
right, yeah,
And even if it was just like I'm gonna stack one time and attack, like that's still a very decent use of energy on the Samurai.
yeah. It's
Versus like
standard at
Sork,
least, yeah.
like Valk versus Sork is just like, well, we'll just delete Sork real quick. That character doesn't exist until Valk's dead.
Right, because it definitely removes his threat of ult.
Yeah.
Like at least on a big scale, it's not gonna be enough to matter. I have to take a lower damage ult.
Yeah, I think looking at utility in terms of like how much does this energy get me, like in terms of like, oh, like Dragoon is 2 reds for 4 damage,
Mm-hmm.
is a good way to start. And then looking at their kit as a whole and saying like, if I could activate all of this character's abilities this turn, what is like the most I can get done with this character
Right, right, right.
is another good metric to have. And I think the only other two things that I like to really consider when I'm looking at these cards is like best case scenario, what is the like biggest nastiest impact I can have with this character? Like if this character just does exactly what they're going to do at exactly the best time possible, like what happens versus like if I activate this character and use their abilities, what is the least that could possibly happen? Like what is the shittiest situation for this character?
Right.
And Valk has just such like a huge gap. Like her best case scenario is basically like win the game. And her worst
Right.
case scenario is do absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I could see that. Because yeah, if you look at bottom lines, like yeah, who's like worst case scenarios? Because I think I balance a lot of these based on their best case scenarios because that's how you prevent things from being overpowered. So like that's why the Sork or the Sharp got changed.
I mean, yes and no, because you have to also like you always come back to the assassin here. Like if you only look at the assassin's best case scenario, this character is overpowered as fuck. This character is nonsense, should not exist in the game. But his best case scenario is also very high risk. It's relatively hard to set up in a way that's not going to like cost you the assassin
Right.
because he's only got 12 health and like yeah, but his worst case scenario is not that bad either. And I think that comes into play with a lot of characters. Like a character that has a relatively good worst case scenario can be just as overpowered as a character that has a really good best case scenario. It's kind of like if you think about fighting games again. What if I told you like this character, their best matchup is a 6-4, but then what if I told you that character, every matchup for that character is 6-4?
And that's their. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Like a character that has zero bad matchups, every matchup is 6-4. That character's OP.
Oh, yeah, that's
Whereas
for
you
sure.
might look at another character and be like, oh, this character has a 10-1 matchup. That character looks OP. And then go, oh, yeah, but all of their other matches are 2-8. And it's like, oh, well, the character's actually trash.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear you, and that's like one of the issues that the Warden has right now is the Warden doesn't have bad matchups. He just doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
He's good at everything, or rather, he's good everywhere. I'm never gonna be like,
I
dang, I
feel
got
like
the Warden.
the worst part about playing against the Warden is it's like you can't counterplay him. Like the Warden is gonna ward. Like he's
Yeah.
gonna do his thing. You can't not have the Warden do his thing. The only way to keep the Warden from doing his thing is just to completely not engage at all.
Or to rush up with the Valkyrie, because then he has to. Because in that case, it does work. It's like he has to trade his lockdown to the tank, which is like the worst use of his lockdown is to be
Yeah, and
focusing
I don't
some
even think
16
that's
health
the
tank.
I don't even think that's the winning play for the Warden player. If I rush you, let's say with Dragoon Valkyrie, and you decide to take the Warden and lock down the Valkyrie, like that's a win for me. You should just lock down the Dragoon and like
But
what,
see,
worst case scenario for you, I then lock down the Warden with the Valkyrie.
that's it. Like, and then for
You
keeps
still
too.
cost me a turn from with the Dragoon. If you lock down the Valkyrie instead, you never cost me a turn with the Dragoon. The Dragoon can just continue doing what he wants.
No, I get that. Now listen, look, because as soon as they meet, because the issue is all about the dance before they meet.
Right, yeah.
So as soon as Valk is in
And that's
there,
that's kind of my point is like the Warden player controls that dance way more than the Valkyrie player does.
I would agree
Because
that they do control that dance more. But once the Valk is in, it locks the Warden out of the game for the rest of the game for cheap, for way cheaper than what the Warden would have to cost to lock one person out. It costs
well, not
one
necessarily,
blade.
because if you're assuming that the Valkyrie is just going to be sitting in the Warden's face hitting halting strike every turn,
Why wouldn't they?
well, the Warden can also sit there and hit transpose every turn
You
and win
can't,
that fight.
because you can't use yellows.
Oh, I didn't realize transpose cost a yellow.
And you'd have to flip to get there anyways. So there's no
Yeah,
way.
okay.
Like he gets completely locked out by the
He
Valk.
can still move though. Like you can
He
either
can't.
make
He can't
he
outpace
could
her at all.
it doesn't matter. You can make her chase you. You
Yeah,
can
but
make
then
her
that's a
go
tank for a
exactly where
tank,
you want.
and that's fine because it's a tank for a tank, and a tank of the Warden's caliber, where his thing is that he can pull the important people off and lock them down, but now he can't, and he's just as dead as the Valkyrie is. So you're trading, except you're
Yeah.
doing damage slowly. So eventually you'll kill me if it
And,
comes
and
to
I guess
that.
that's my point is like that would be the worst case scenario for the Warden player. The best case scenario in that situation is you lock the Dragoon down for a turn and then the Valkyrie comes in and you play lockdown tradesies for the rest of the game. So at least you cost the Dragoon player a turn with the Dragoon
So
at that point.
I cost him one turn, literally only
Instead
one
of
turn.
zero. That's what I'm saying. Those are your only two choices.
Oh,
Zero
okay.
turns or one turn.
Okay, yeah. So that's like his bottom line is that he had to lock down. So, well, his worst case would be he couldn't lock down anyone except the Valk.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. That's if you choose to just rush the Valk with the Warden, that's what you're picking.
Right, right,
Whereas
right.
if you were like, well, fuck it, the Valk's coming, but I'm going to go rush the Dragoon and lock him down for a turn, like maybe you can kill,
Yeah,
whoever their third character is
right.
before the Dragoon can actually get in now.
And don't get me wrong, there is weight there. All I'm saying is that like Valk can make the Warden do nothing, or have to waste 2 energy to stop her from doing that. And then he still can't be locking anybody else down if he's doing that. So then it's like he loses his complete utility, and he has to waste 2 yellows every turn to do that because there's no way he gets away from her no matter what.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I
yeah,
mean,
there's no scenario where he can get away from her at all. Once they're in there,
there
that's
is
it.
actually
Like how?
because he can disposition and then move, so he can technically move 7 in a turn.
Wait, so this position.
Disposition somebody 4 spaces away and then move 3.
Okay. I'm trying to see.
So, like, let's say I'm moving up with Dragoon Valkyrie. You can disposition onto the Dragoon and then move 3 spaces. And unless they were right next to each other, the Valkyrie can't catch you now. So now the player playing the Valkyrie has to make the choice. Do I want to try and chase the Warden down, knowing he can just do that again and probably continue getting away from me? and I'm just chasing the warden around now and I'm never going to catch him? Or do I want to try and lock somebody else down, but then the warden can come up behind me and lock me down? So you end up playing keep away with the warden.
Right, which is an important, like, that's still, like, no matter how you slice it, like, that focus has officially become the Valkyrie.
Yeah.
And that's like,
But my point is you can still get stuff done because you can disposition and then either bind or transpose and then move 3.
binder transfer.
Well,
Oh,
if
right,
there's
right.
anybody else there to do it too.
Oh, gotcha. And I'm still gonna remove that 3 move, anyways. So, but even before that, even with that 3 move, I feel like the Valk does a good job of dealing with the Warden because of the options that she has there. Is that she
Yeah.
just completely locks him out of yellows, and hits him while she's doing it. Whereas even if he
Yeah.
chooses to lock her up, he's not going to do any damage.
I guess my point is unless they're running like Valkyrie Hydronaut or something, like the Valkyrie has 4 movement and that's it. Whereas the Warden has other movement options to where he can play tag with the Valkyrie. He never has to let the Valkyrie hit him.
I feel like it doesn't. It can't play. I feel like it doesn't play out that way. I'm trying to think though, because I mean, you might be right, but I'm trying to think. Like,
I mean, even if it's just the Valkyrie is moving straight towards the Warden,
yeah,
the Warden can bounce up, bind her, and then bounce out. So she's never going to hit him at that point. And like you said, that's going to cost you 2 yellow. But then next turn, on your turn, assuming there's any other character in range, like let's say you've got, Warden here. Well, where's Warden? There's Warden. You've got Warden, you've got Valkyrie. So the Warden moved up, bound her, and then bounced back, right?
okay,
And let's say I move up Dragoon to try and come chase down the Warden, so you stop doing that. Or I'm trying to just run past to kill one of your other characters. You could be like, okay, cool. I'm going to transpose with the Dragoon, and then I'll move 3 over here. And then it's like, okay, so now I have to decide, like, okay, do I want to keep chasing the Warden? Or, like, do I want to try and make something else happen? And if I decide to ignore the Warden at this point, Warden can just be like, okay, cool, I'm going to bind the Dragoon and then move over here.
right. But you can't realistically transpose and move
Why not?
because you can't lock them. Like, it doesn't lock them down when you do that.
Right, but he's a tank. Like, so what am I going to go chase the Warden down and try and kill him instead of killing your Witch Doctor or your Assassin or your Sharpshooter or your Bomb? Like, if you get me chasing your Warden, then, like, you've already kind of won in that position, right?
You taking my Warden out of the game is more important than me taking your Valk out of the game.
My point is, like, I've taken my... the Valkyrie hasn't taken the Warden out of the game. The Warden has taken the Valkyrie out of the game because if the Valkyrie wants to catch the Warden, she has to keep chasing him, and he can just whoop, bounce out, and now he's over here. And like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm going to keep chasing the Warden, keep chasing the Warden, keep chasing the Warden, and the Warden goes, up, move here, transpose up. And like, oh, I guess I'll keep chasing the Warden, I'll keep chasing the Warden. Like,
Okay. So you're saying, okay, so you're gonna spend that energy on the Warden every turn, and while my other team, so I'm not spending any money or any resources on the Valk if I'm chasing him down, like you say, and the rest of my team can just spend all that energy hitting somebody else.
well, here's the thing. If I decide I'm going to continue chasing the Warden with the Valk, I'm using one of my free moves, which means I can only move one character. Let's say it's the Dragoon. So I've got a third character back here just like doing what? Holding their dick? Because unless I'm spending yellows to move them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either costing me a yellow to move this dude up, or this dude doesn't get to move up.
But then you're only moving, like you said, the same thing is like you're also only moving one character.
Right.
So it's still the same. Like,
Yeah, and that's kind of my point, is like, as long as the Warden player plays like this, like neither one of them is completely taken out of the game. It just slows the game down because I have to burn moves and or energy to keep chasing the Warden, or he will get away and do Warden things. And if I don't, and if I do, then the warden has to keep dancing, and you have to keep spending energy to dance with the warden. But that doesn't put either of us ahead. We're just kind of in a stalemate at this point. Like neither one character is locked out. They're both still threats. They're just threats that very easily balance each other.
Except the warden player is at a deficit because they have to spin the yellow to get away from the Valk. And the Valk doesn't have to spin anything. Like they're not spending any energy at all. But he has to spend the yellow to get away from her. Like there's
Right,
no
but
way.
the yellow you're spending still does something. I'm spending a move here and accomplishing nothing. You're spending a yellow and moving my shit around or
Right.
possibly
So
doing other
so you're
abilities.
you're so you're using a yellow and one of your free moves, and I'm using one of my free moves. That's what I'm saying. Like the warden player, it's not balanced. Like the warden player loses more, for sure. And it only takes me to catch you one time, and then you can't get away anymore the rest of the game. Because as soon as I like one yellow out, you can't get away from her. She's already there, and 4 move is gonna outpace 3 move. So no matter how you spin it, he can't do anything else, and she just comes out like on top, and it's just heavy on top if she touches him once.
Well, I mean, again, this comes back to the point you were making with the witch doctor earlier. It depends on how many turns this plays out for. Because like if Valkyrie's moving up and you start doing this dance here, and let's
Mm-hmm.
say you can delay the Valkyrie touching you for 2 turns, and during those 2 turns you've moved the Dragoon over here, you've maybe bound him one time, your other character has killed one of my dudes, and I've accomplished nothing. So yeah, it cost you energy, but strategically you could be way ahead if you played this properly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I cannot get anything done here other than possibly costing you energy. But while you're doing that, you can accomplish other things. Whereas I can't. The Valkyrie like can't get anything done while she's doing this. All
Right,
she can do is force you to dance.
and that's
But
true.
you can still do shit while you're dancing.
Like what though? Like I guess that's what I'm saying. I think that's where the disconnect is for me. It's like I feel like you aren't actually doing anything in that time except spending energy to stay away from me. And yeah, as the Valk, I'm not doing anything if I can't catch you, but I'm also not losing anything except a free move that you are also losing. So like I don't lose out there because that's a free move for a free move. So like it's like saying nothing happened.
Well, it
So
could be a free move.
so what are
Or
the
you could have just done a disposition and not used your free move on the warden, which
if
then,
you
like, yeah, it's costing you a yellow.
but even if you disposition and don't move, I mean,
It
sure,
depends on
sure.
what the
If
setup of the board
yeah, if
is, because,
everything
like,
is perfectly set up, sure, it's like, oh yeah, I'll be way over here. But realistically,
yeah,
it's I feel like that's not normally the case.
yeah. But again, like I was saying, you don't have to do this forever. Like, if you can delay the Valkyrie from touching the warden for a turn or two, and you can make a couple really good plays with the warden in that time period, like, that might be enough to win you the game.
I guess I'm trying to okay. Like I'm not gonna argue that, I guess, because it's just like I mean, sure, there's always gonna be that. So you can make some big play in 2 turns worth of warden moves while running from me.
Yeah, so like this was my point is let's say I'm moving up the Dragoon and the Valkyrie. That means I'm not moving up my third dude unless I'm spending yellows to move him up as well.
Right.
So if I'm moving these two up and you can delay them from doing anything for a turn or even 2 turns while you do shit with your other characters back here, and my third dude's back here because I'm too busy moving the fucking Valkyrie around trying to chase the warden, and this dude doesn't get anything done. And you're able to lock down the Dragoon by like fucking transposing him and binding him and doing this other shit while you're running away from the Valkyrie. Like your other two characters should kill this dude. This dude should be dead. And then like maybe yeah, okay, eventually the Valkyrie catches up and catches this dude, but now like what? It's your 3 dudes against the Valkyrie? And my other dude's back here, and I've got a dude that just came in because you killed the Dragoon. Like now you're picking my dudes off one at a time. And yeah, that's obviously like basically best case scenario.
Yeah, that's only best case scenario.
But I'm saying like there's still that gulf of like, okay, best case scenario, I can disrupt your formation and pick your team apart while you're playing peekaboo tag with the fucking
Right,
Valkyrie.
because realistically, like me
Worst case
versus me
scenario,
is like you're gonna delay me one turn. Like that's
worst
it.
case scenario, this happens. And then still, it's Dragoon against your two guys. Because I had to move up two guys just to get past the Warden. And your other guys are still here. Actually, the worst case scenario, I'll tell you, the worst case scenario is that you are moving up with your team with the Warden trying to pass the Valkyrie. Because then you're in a world of hurt, because then I don't even have to come to you because you're coming to me. If I have to come to you, this is already like worst case scenario for me. Because even if I can move up and stop the Warden, I have to find some way to move all my other shit up as well, and then worry about you going, well, instead of playing with the Valkyrie here, I'll just lock the Dragoon for one turn, kill your other dude, and now your new dude is way back here, and now it's 3-on-2 for the next like 2 turns.
Okay, I guess it's one of those things that we'll just have to play out and see. Um, yeah,
Anytime you're trying to move a team past the Warden, like it is 100% in the Warden player's like hand to fuck that up.
yeah, for sure. Because that is what he does. He is the disposition tank of the tanks.
It doesn't matter if I'm trying to move past with or without the Valkyrie. The only thing that the Valkyrie gives me is that once I have moved past, I can do it again more easily because now they're locked basically. But it doesn't help me move past him the first time.
But the thing is that it does, like the rest of the times don't matter. It takes one time. As soon as she touches him once, he's out of the game.
But that might be the decisive turn. Like it like in the game we were playing, you had the Witch Doctor back here, you've got the Assassin back here, you've got the Warden. Like if I had decided at the beginning of the game, like, shit, I'm gonna have to rush this dude because otherwise I'm totally screwed here. And I ran forward with Valkyrie Dragoon because I'm like, well, Dragoon's faster, so I guess I'll leave the Berserker behind. Or I decided I'm gonna keep spending yellows to move the Berserker up too. All you would need to do really is lock the Dragoon for one turn, move the Assassin up, hit him, move back, toxify him. This turn, I lock the Warden, but I still can't do anything with the Dragoon. Next turn, you kill him with the Assassin and the Witch Doctor, and he's dead. Now, I have Berserker and Sharpshooter all the way back here, and you have Witch Doctor, Warden, and Assassin versus Valkyrie.
So I'm just gonna kill him, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Or just leave these two locked and go fucking kill the Guardian. Or just run past with the Assassin and kill the Sharpshooter. Or do anything. Like at this point, you have already gotten value out of getting these two locked together. Because sure, maybe this cost you the Warden. Technically, they're locked here now. But you got a character off of that trade.
I mean, but that's like that right there. I think that you're overestimating like there because I don't see how you think I'm just gonna kill. You know how many reds that is? Like
Let's see.
that's 3 reds just to
5.
do the 6 damage with your other 3. So 3 reds. You can't run 3 reds every turn.
It would cost you, I think, minimum 5 reds to kill the Dragoon because he's a 14 life character, right?
Which is still like 3 turns.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about a 1 turn exchange. Like there's no way he dies from being locked down once. He just doesn't. Especially
Well,
as
no,
a
I mean,
Dragoon.
you can't. So, first off, we can't be here on turn 1. No one has enough movement.
Right.
So, it's going to be at least turn 2 or 3 before we get to this position. So,
which doesn't change anything because I don't have any stacks or anything like that either. So like none of that is gonna.
well, let's say we're on turn 3 and you've saved a couple reds because you just have them because we haven't engaged yet. You can easily have, like, let's say it's turn 3 and you have 3 reds. You can stab and toxify. And then on the next turn, you can get 2 more reds if you take a red as your extra, and you can stab again. Or you could ult, or you could do whatever, and he's dead.
Because then that's like 10 damage, 11 damage. And if nothing else, the bleed will kill him.
Yeah.
In the case of the witch doctor. Okay.
And then, yeah, so like you've basically traded the Warden for the Valkyrie and gotten the Dragoon also.
That's true. That's true.
And even if you just leave this here for the rest of the game, you're like, you know what? Fuck it. Take the Warden. I'll keep the Witch Doctor there. Or I'll keep the Valkyrie there. Because as soon as you move away from the Warden's going to go fuck somebody else up. So you're stuck as well as I am.
Oh, right. We got to keep that in mind, too, because as the Warden team, in order for me to keep that up, that's one of the things with being the Warden is you don't get those attacks every turn because it takes 2 yellow every turn.
Yeah.
To keep them down.
And it's not like they're locked right here either. You can be like, all right, I'm going to move back 1, 2, 3. You're gonna chase me? And the Valkyrie player goes, okay, sure, I'll chase you. And you go, okay, next turn, I'm going to move back 1, 2, 3, and you can chase me. And now I've got the rest of my team here, and I'm like, well, if I waste my free move moving the Valkyrie up, I'm not moving the rest of my team up. I'm moving one of the 2 people up to try and replace the Dragoon that you just killed. And like, yeah, you can decide, like, I'm just not going to kill the Valkyrie, or you can just easily kill her before I can catch up.
I think I'm mixing up the teams. Okay. All right. I don't even know where we were going with that, but
I don't know either. We just got into discussing
yeah.
how these characters play off each other,
Yeah.
and I think it's less one-sided than you think it was. But like, I agree that you get the situation where it's like these 2 characters get into like a staring match, but I don't think that like automatically makes the Warden useless. I think he still can produce a lot of value before you get to that point. And because he can produce his value at range before the Valkyrie can get to him, like, you're always going to get that value. You might not get as much value as you would from him in another game because the Valkyrie can move up and stop him.
Mm-hmm.
But you're always going to be able to force something good to happen for yourself before she can do that.
And that's true. Typically, we can't say always, not on that one. But typically he'll be able to do at least one thing before he can't, basically.
Yeah, and because this is precipitated on the Valkyrie moving to the Warden,
right?
Like, that's already a huge advantage for you because, like, let's say on turn 1 you just move up to here. You don't have to move him again. I have to move past you. So
right.
if I'm trying to get 2 characters up,
then you're not getting his value. If he's back here in lieu of waiting for the Valk, he's not going to get his value that he brings to the team. And if he doesn't,
well, no, his value is that I have to move past him, and most of the time it's going to be very hard for me to do so. And because I have to move past him, and I'm probably going to want to move as many characters past him as I can, that means I'm going to be moving 2 characters up into your 3 characters. So I either have to choose, I'm going to leave 1 character behind, or I'm going to be spending a yellow every turn to also move this 3rd character up. And when I get here, you basically have 1 turn where the Warden is going to have enough range and enough mobility to pick 1 character and take them out of the exchange for a full turn.
Right.
And then if I don't properly counter you on that turn, it'll be 2+ turns of you doing that.
Wait, how will it be 2 plus turns? Because you'll only have that one turn that you lock that one person down. Because as soon as you
Right.
lock them
So if it
down,
looks like this, sure. But what if I didn't move my Valkyrie up even with the other ones, and you go, okay, cool. Well, I'll just go lock him down, and I go, oh shit, I can't get the Valkyrie there. Now you have 2 turns of doing that. Or what if you notice like, oh, this dude's like way over there, so instead of moving over here, I'm gonna move over here, disposition.
but why would I wouldn't? I guess that's the thing is like I am aware of the threat that the Valk poses to the Warden, so I'm not gonna be doing weird shit like that. Like,
What I'm saying, like, this isn't. It's it's on me to fuck this up. Like, you don't have to fuck anything up here because it's on me to move past the Warden, and you just have to intercept. And if I fuck up anything about my approach, like I have the Valkyrie out of position or I have somebody else out of position or something, you can capitalize on that.
right, right,
And yeah, I guess that it's on you to fuck that up too. Like maybe you
exactly,
don't notice or you misplay that
right.
or something.
Like, and I don't think like we can't like
But I feel like in the worst case scenario, like the worst possible misplay is that, like here, you lock down the Dragoon and then immediately get locked down by the Valk. But you still locked the Dragoon out of the initial turn of this engagement. And that is by far going to be the most critical turn of this engagement. Like, let's say I've been moving the Dragoon up this whole time and he's got like 7 attack ups on him or some stupid shit. Like, if you lock him down for a turn while the rest of this engagement plays out, that could be enough to completely turn the game in your favor.
I mean, yeah, and that is a real possibility.
Whereas the Valkyrie player can't really do that. Like, the Valkyrie can never get to the Warden and lock him down before the Warden can lock somebody down. And like, if I wanted to be cheeky and be like, oh, well, I'll just run straight at him with the Valkyrie, and you go, cool, I lock the Valkyrie down. I like bind her and move over here. And then I go, okay, well, I'll just wait. And you go, cool, I'll lock the Valkyrie down and move over. I go, oh, shit, I have to move somebody else up. And I go, all right, well, I'm going to move up my stacked Dragoon now. And you go, all right, cool, well, I'll lock the Dragoon down. And then I go, cool, I lock him down now. And you go, cool, well, now I'll finish killing the Dragoon this turn because I already did like 5 damage to him last turn and finish killing him now. And I go, oh, fuck.
I'd like to see this played out sometime, because yeah, I think we
I
definitely
feel like we've played similar things out several times because like you play the Warden a lot, and most of the time you play team comps that make me want to rush you,
hmm
and this happens frequently. Where it's like I need to move shit up, and the Warden's just like, no. And it's like, all right, well, fuck, I lose.
yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll make adjustments to the Warden. Let me think. Who else? Right now, I don't think anybody else. Unless I do the, I'll give the Valk the 1 turn buff lock on the ult for the same cost as a buff to her. Because yeah, I still think that her ability to lock yellows and blues is still good. And now she's the only one who can do that because there is no other class that locks anything.
Warden.
Oh, he does lock yellow. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think back when there was the Witch Doctor, the Valkyrie felt really bad because you could compare her to the Witch Doctor, and she was just a much inferior version of that, other than the ult.
Right.
And still, with the Warden being here, she feels in a lot of ways, unless you need her ult, she feels like an inferior version of the Warden. Especially since she doesn't lock movement, she doesn't move herself at all, she doesn't move other people, and she also doesn't have as much damage potential as the Warden.
Well, she has the same damage potential as the Warden, but and she does it for a lot less too.
Well, the Warden's ult can do 7 damage,
Okay, yeah, theoretically,
and
it can't.
Transpose does 3 damage.
Realistically, it can't do any damage. They have to already be there. He can't generate that. He can do three
Transpose does
damage.
3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for 3 energy.
Yeah, and she does what, three damage for 2 energy, so
Yeah,
slightly better. But
and they're
again, like
2 different ones, so that plays into.
he has better movement because he can slingshot and teleport and keep other people from moving and then bounce. So just like, yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna. Like I said, I'll take that movement off of his flipped A1. Um,
and I don't even know if her like I was saying, like I don't know if her ult synergizes with her other abilities very well.
mm, Not really. She just does something unique. That's all I'm looking
Because
for.
like yeah, I forgot. I never finished making this point earlier, but I was trying to make the point of like the Valkyrie is generally a counterpick character, and I'm trying to think. Most of the time, you're going to pick her to counterpick somebody based on her ult, right? And I'm trying to think of two characters, like one or two characters that you could have on your side of the table, where I'd be like, oh shit, I want to pick the Valkyrie,
Mm-hmm.
and then be like, do her 1 and 2 abilities help at all against this lineup? And it doesn't seem like they would most of the time. It
I
seems
guess
like
not.
you would pick her and be like, I need this ult, and then like the things that you would be picking her against don't really care about the 1 and 2. It's only the three. Like most of the things that would care about her 1 and 2 don't care about her three, and most of the things that care about her three don't really care about her 1 and 2.
But that sort of keeps her open to be able to do things against multiple different kinds of units in a way too, though. Because like you said, like her. Okay, so her one impacts the stackers as well as anybody else who needs to flip or heal, like that still impacts them, and then movement still impacts people, anybody who uses yellows, which is
Yeah,
still like a good amount of characters. Like that's assassin, dragoon, berserker, warden, of course, sharpshooter, like a lot. There's a good amount. There's a good amount of them, and like both of those lock those things, and whether they stack or not, those are impactful. And then the ult, of course, is only impacting stackers,
yeah,
but it's still dual purpose, so that she has that flexibility. It does, and like so, the what she represents. So if I pick this stacker and another stacker, is the threat of canceling, like making my energy count against me.
yeah,
And whether she does it or not, she still moves forward and can stop other people or these same characters from using blues or yellows. And I think that's, yeah, I just talked myself out of that one, like because she's still good, she's still strong, like she still provides utility without the ult. Is it as much as these some of these other ones without the ult? No, but I think that's still fine. Like it's just more utility because these things still help against a lot of these other classes anyways, even if she doesn't ult. But if she can ult, then it's like a bigger deal. But then even people like the assassin can't shadow sprint or ult. Best case scenario.
well, I mean, yeah, you can because she can't catch him.
But yeah, best case scenario. Positioning is always going to be, everything. But
Well, I mean, when it comes to the assassin, like the assassin player basically has to choose to leave him within 4 squares of the Valkyrie because you either A are going to move up, hit somebody, and then shadow step back, and assuming you can add up, 1 + 2 + 1 = 4, like you just don't stand there
right, well, yeah, that's the thing. Is like, well, he's not going to be dumping on anybody.
unless it's time to. Like if you are weighing your strategic options and you're like, well, maybe the assassin gets locked down, but I'm gonna go kill that dude because that's what I
Mm-hmm.
need to do right now. You can still do that, and the Valkyrie can't stop you.
Right.
And if all you're gonna do is like walk up, poke, and step back, then the Valkyrie still can't stop you. Whereas the Warden could stop him.
Right. 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 For sure.
So I'm not trying to say that the Valkyrie should be the Warden, because obviously the Warden is
Right.
the
Right.
Warden.
They just do two different things, but and one's more effective at it than the other. All I'm saying is that there, I think my biggest argument here for that is that I think majority of this argument you've been saying you only pick her for her ult, and I just
Yeah.
don't think that's true. I think it's a big portion of initially drafting, but she can still do a lot without the ult.
Yeah, I mean, I am mainly talking about the draft to an extent right now, because like there's a lot of characters that like you pick for strategic. I mean, all of them you pick for
Right,
some strategic
right, right, right.
purpose. Because like if you pick the Warden, what I'm hearing when you say I'm picking the Warden is that I'm gonna put the Warden someplace on the table, and you're gonna have to walk past him, and you're not gonna be able to because that's what the Warden does. Like
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing. Like you are setting up a wall someplace because you picked Warden. And when I pick Valkyrie or you pick Valkyrie, all I hear is you can't stack. Because there's not really anything else she excels at. She excels at saying you can't have tokens.
for sure. Like
And yeah, she can move
at
around the
face
table and
value.
hit people and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Like she can do that, but that's not why you picked her.
But it doesn't make her any less effective at doing those things.
I mean, it kind of does though, because like if I was like I'm gonna pick the Valkyrie to move around and hit people, like I
Well,
probably should have picked the Dragoon or something,
well,
right?
yeah, right, because she's not a DPS.
Right. So
But
like there's a reason that you picked her,
right,
and she does
typically,
that very well. The reason why you would pick the Valkyrie, she does that thing.
and she also has the potential to lock out blues and yellows. Like I do pick
Yeah.
her for that yellow or blue lockout sometimes. Yeah, I'm not denying that like a big portion of her character is that she threatens the removal of buffs.
Yeah.
But
I
I
mean, I
do
feel
pick
like
her
back when
for
there was the other Witch Doctor, like you
hmm
never would pick the Valkyrie for that because as long as the Witch Doctor is available. And I feel like even right now, if you have the choice between the Valkyrie and the Warden, if what you want is lockdown, you're probably going to pick the Warden.
typically, yeah.
So I don't think that's a really good argument for the Valkyrie because then it makes her in direct competition with the Warden and she loses.
The word see so lockdown. Okay, the trade for the lockdown itself is that she does damage while she stops them from using certain energy, and he can like the way I want him played is that he pulls people out of the way and they can't do anything. Like they can't move, at least they can't move from that spot. So
I mean, most characters once they can't move, they're already like 90% of the way to doing nothing.
right,
Because unless you pulled like somebody with long range,
right, right.
chances are you pulled them someplace where they're not going to be in range to do anything anyway.
Or you're just pulling them in to get beat up.
Yeah.
Um, well, okay. Initially, and even now, still, he was built to like peel.
Yeah, I feel that with the Warden. It's like, okay, as long as I'm willing to just drop 2 yellow every
Right, right.
turn,
Because you do have to drop the energy to do it.
then I'm basically saying I'm going to take this card and put it on top of this card, and those will both sit there as long as I'm willing to spend 2 yellow every turn.
Right.
And like, yeah, he does that very well. Like, he's very good at saying like, cool, I'm gonna sit right here, and thou shalt not pass. I'm like, you want pass? Cool, I'm gonna spend 2 yellow, and these dudes do nothing for the rest of the game. Um, and like I said, like all the cards, I think at this point, like they have kind of a purpose, and they're all fulfilling their purpose. Like Valkyrie, I feel like the main purpose of Valkyrie, because it's not lockdown, because that would be the Warden. the main purpose of the Valkyrie is to keep people from stacking.
Okay, yeah.
And she does that. Like she just goes, okay, if you're gonna start stacking and you're gonna go more than like 1 or 2 turns worth of stacking shit, I'm gonna just drop a purple and undo all of that.
Yeah.
And then she like other than that, she plays some like little baby warden games.
Right, right. But the same can sort of
But
be said in the inverse for the warden. Is like, what you pick the warden for is the bind.
yeah,
So the rest is just some icing on the cake for niche situations. But I mean, you've seen it when I play it. Like, sure, I use transpose at the end, but that was just because I had the energy to kill her. But other than that, it's for the bind. It's like it's a one-trick pony, both of them.
yeah,
It's just which trick do you want?
yeah.
So it's like, I don't think she's just some baby version of the warden. Is the gist? She just does something different, like completely different. But she can also lock out some yellows, and he can lock out yellows. Yes, there's a similarity, but it's not in the same way. And you having the warden out and me having the Valk out presents two different threats.
It kind of does.
I mean, it really does though, because like if your only goal for the Valk is to take the buffs away
Yeah,
with the ult, that's a different threat than the warden does. Warden does nothing about taking your buffs
right.
away,
Yeah,
absolutely nothing. So they just, they're at their extremes. They do two different things really well, and then he does a little damage.
I guess what I'm saying is like the thing that I need the Valkyrie for, the reason I'm picking the Valkyrie, if I just need her to take away buffs, she can just sit here all day and do that. The other things that she can do, she needs to be up here to do though. And in most of the games where I would want to pick the Valkyrie for her ability to take care of buffs, which she can do back here, when I move her up here to do her other things, they don't seem to come into play very often because of the situations where you would pick her.
Okay.
Like she kind of self defeats her own kit, I guess is what I'm saying. Is like you pick her for her ult, and her ult does its job. Her ult says, "Don't do buffs. I'm gonna be someplace, and you can't do buffs." And then it's like, "All right, cool. I guess I won't do buffs." And then she goes, "Cool. I guess I'm done."
Right, but that's the thing, is that like you're literally like, if it turns to that now, okay, well they just won't stack. Well then
Yeah,
now she can still move in, and she's still a meat shield. She's still a tank. She still does annoying enough damage that you can't just like
I
flat
guess
out
that's
ignore
the
her.
I guess that's the thing that I guess maybe I'm discounting in this game is the whole meat shield thing because like you can't really block people in this game with anybody except the warden. Like there's enough mobility in this game and there's no ability to lock people into melee or stop people from just running past you other than the warden that like yeah cool Valkyrie could have 30 health like she's not a huge threat other than just taking away your buffs.
Which sometimes is a pretty big threat. Like I first
Right.
killed a Valk for that, to take that threat off the map. But it is situational. I mean,
Right, but I guess that's my point. You first killed her to get rid of the ult. You like I don't feel like anyone would first kill the Valk to get rid of her A1.
right. Unless it's against the Berserker, because I've also killed her so that she can't just lock my Berserker the whole game.
Yeah, I mean the
it's
Berserker's already kind of his own problem.
yeah, it's gonna just depend on what the matchup is. Hey, well, hold on. I'm gonna think I should wrap this up. It's about 1:30 here.
Yeah, Witch Doctor I find in a really weird place right now because the Witch Doctor's clearly very powerful, but it's still powerful in an awkward way. And if you made it less powerful, it wouldn't make it any less awkward. So it would just be less powerful, but still awkward.
Yeah. I'm cool with awkward though, as long as it's useful. Well, I will nerf that damage on the ult. I'll probably take it off, and well, I'll definitely take it off. But I'm trying to think if I'll leave it at 3 stacks or make it 4 or something, because it'll just be blood marks, 1 damage over a course of, like 1 damage a turn, which is not nothing, but it'll take a lot longer before that like matters.
I mean, I guess the other thing with the Witch Doctor to me right now is like, what's his role?
He's just
Like
he
he has a unique mechanic, but he doesn't have a unique role.
Oh, he's still just there's no unique roles. Like the roles are range,
Except there's a
tank.
unique role for every other card that exists.
What do you mean? Like there's just like a
Like
classification for
there's
the role that they're in?
no, I mean like there's no other card that fulfills the same job that the Warden does. Like there's nobody else that can Warden. Only the
Right.
Warden can Warden.
Disposition tank.
There's
Shielding
no
tank.
other card that does what the Paladin does.
Right.
Like, but there is other cards that do what the Witch Doctor does,
What?
except other than him being poison. Like, because if you compare the Sorcerer to the Witch Doctor, they both just have a global ult that hits everybody and does damage. The Witch Doctor just does it a little bit slower. Like, it doesn't put him in a new role. He just does the same role slightly differently.
He's a ranged DPS that deals
Well, yeah,
damage
but
and dots.
even if you compare to the range DPSs, like if you compare now Sharpshooter to Bomb, they fulfill very different roles. Even though they're range DPS, they do damage in different ways at different ranges, in different patterns. But like the Witch Doctor doesn't. He does the same thing the Sorcerer does. Just the numbers are slightly different.
Wait, he doesn't. Like I don't like. I just
So
completely
like
disagree.
if think about it this way, like if we were playing an FPS game and we had one gun that did like per second at 50 meters, but it did it in 3 round bursts, and we had another gun that did 50 DPS at 50 meters, but it did it in single shot. Like there would be some people that preferred one and some people that preferred the other, but the fact of the matter is they're still both a 50-meter engagement weapon that does 50 DPS.
Right. Yeah.
And that might be
That
exactly
makes
what you
sense.
want for balance reasons. But in this game, the Witch Doctor is the only card like that.
But that's not how it is though. Like the sorcerer is 1. First of all, of course, it doesn't deal the dot, right? It also
Right.
generates a blue.
Right.
So, and then her second ability gives her an attack up. It's like they're not the same.
I guess
at
what I'm saying
all.
is they both over around the same period of turns for about the same amount of energy, they both do the same amount of damage to the same spaces on the board.
But they do it in different, like, completely different ways. Like I won't say completely different because the ults are still like
I mean, yeah,
global.
I get
But
what
I
you're
mean,
saying, but it would be like if you added another card that was a tank that could slingshot around the board and bind people, even if you made the abilities different than the Warden's, if it also slingshotted around the board and bound people, I'd be like, dude, this is just Warden 2.0.
so
Like, I feel like Witch Doctor right now is just Sorcerer 2.0.
huh.
Like, strategically, they're fulfilling the same role, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, they're both a card that's going to sit back and over some period of time do a bunch of damage to the enemy team at infinite range, generally through their ult. They both have an A1 that can do some damage at a mid range. They both have some kind of utility A2, and then they have an ult that hits the whole enemy team at infinite range. And the Sorcerer does that by charging up the ult and then dropping it, and the Witch Doctor does it by ulting and then having it play out over the next couple turns. But either way, it's, over X turns, it does a nuke. they're both nuke. Witch Doctor nuke, Sorcerer nuke.
But
There's different flavors of the same card.
right. But Witch Doctor's not a nuke though. Like nuke by definition would be like a group of damage all at once, and it's literally the opposite of that. It's that same amount of damage, but it's not a nuke. It's done over time instead of all at once.
Well, that's my point. They're both done over time. It's just one has time up front and the other has time on the tail. Like, I guess my point would be like, how do you play against the sorcerer? You got to rush him and kill him before he blows up your team. How do you play against the witch doctor? You got to rush him and kill him before he blows up your team. What do you want to do with the sorcerer? Keep him back and pop his ult. What do you want to do with the witch doctor? Keep him back and pop his ult.
But the same thing can be said about the bombardier.
Not really.
It's like, what do you?
Because the bombardier still has a range. He still has a range. He has a unique mechanic of that he has all these AoEs. Like, he's not an infinite range, blow the whole board up character. He is a
rush him,
drop bombs character.
and he just stacks. He's going to kill you.
Maybe.
Like, it's the same.
Like, he's a stacker, yeah. I mean, but so is the Dragoon.
The equation's the same. It's like, that's sort of the idea for the range.
I mean, I might be generalizing a little bit between the two cards, but I feel like you're generalizing a lot there, because like the difference between the Bombardier and the Witch Doctor is that there's a lot of mechanical differences which are not super important. Like the flipping and the stacking and stuff like that those are all ephemera. The bigger differences to me is like, how close do you need to be with the Bombardier to do the thing he needs to do? He has to be within 7 spaces. Ideally, he wants to be within 5 spaces so he can hit multiple characters. Where does the Witch Doctor need to be? Literally anywhere. Doesn't matter. He just needs to be away from the enemy so he doesn't get killed.
Yeah, as long as you're only using the ult.
Yeah, but that's his best ability.
Well,
like, whereas the Bombardier, on the other hand, is... What's that?
That's everybody's best ability. The ult is
I don't know.
Everyone's best ability. I mean, except for
I honestly
the Warden, because he's a utility tank.
I honestly feel like Cannon is a better ability than Catastrophe on the Bombardier.
Catastrophe wins games, and if you haven't seen me win a game, like, I feel like you had to have seen me play this class.
Yeah.
Like, Catastrophe.
But I mean, I'm making a really like surface level argument for Cannon being a better ability, which is that Cannon is 1 damage or 1 red for 3 damage. Catastrophe is 4 energy for 5 damage. Like, Cannon is arguably a better ability. I'm not saying it's a better ability in every situation.
Right, because typically isn't, but I get that what you're saying is like, sometimes Cannon is better than the ult. I mean, sure, yeah.
Right.
But typically, when you consider the kit and how you play the class, when you have attack,
and it also comes down to positioning. Like, Cannon versus Catastrophe is a big positional situation. Like, yeah, maybe you want to drop Catastrophe because somebody has 5 health left, or because you can hit 2 people with it that are kind of far apart. But if there's 2 people standing right next to each other and neither of them has only 5 health left, Cannon is probably the better ability most of the time. Well, especially if you can get a couple attack ups.
If it's if they're right next to each other or something, sure.
But there's no positional reasons to use Toxify because Plague hits the whole board. What I'm saying is like the play style differences between the Bombardier and the Witch Doctor. Play style wise, the Witch Doctor plays very differently from the Bombardier.
Okay, yeah.
Play style wise, the Witch Doctor and the Sorcerer play almost identically. Like, there are mechanical differences about how you do the thing that you're doing with them, but the style of what you're doing is the same exact style. Kind of like if you try to compare the Valkyrie to the Warden, like, there are some similarities. Like, they can lock things. They're both tanks. They're both somewhat mobile because the Valkyrie moves 4 and the Warden has slingshot abilities. But strategically, they play very differently. Like, the Warden is all about, I'm going to go lock 1 person down and make sure they can't do anything. Whereas the Valkyrie is about, I'm going to make sure nobody can stack, and then maybe I can get up there and hit people with my stick. Like, play style wise, they play out very differently. Kind of like if you were trying to compare Valkyrie and Assassin, like, they're both melee characters. Like, one's a tank, one's a melee DPS.
Yeah.
playstyle wise, they're very different. But if you compare Bombardier to Sharpshooter, playstyle wise, they're going to play very differently. Sharpshooter is all about flipping and marking and ulting pretty much, whereas Bombardier is about stacking and trying to land AoEs. Playstyle wise, they're very different. Witch Doctor versus Sorcerer, same playstyle.
Okay.
And the reason why it kind of stands out to me though is there's no other cards in the game that you can say that about. Like the only other two that I can think of that are either somewhat close together like that or like Assassin Dragoon, and even then the playstyle is significantly different. They're both mobile melee DPS characters, but like Dragoon is 14 health, only moves 3 but has a jump. Assassin moves 5 and has a jump, but is 12 health. Dragoon's a stacking character, Assassin's not. Dragoon has a nuke AoE ult. Assassin just has a single target ult. Like playstyle wise, they're still very different, even though they have a lot of similarities. I think Assassin Dragoon and Bombardier Sharp are the other two sets that are somewhat close together, but I think Witch Doctor and Sork are like literally exactly the same playstyle.
Okay. That could be okay. I might not have a problem with that. But
Also, I'm not sure why you changed the Witch Doctor, honestly. Like I know what you said before, but like after hearing you talk about like your process tonight, it seems out of character for you to change it.
he's oppressive.
Yeah, but so's the Warden.
Yeah,
And
but the
so's
warden,
the Valkyrie against the stacking team.
the warden needs some he needs some nerfs though. He's been strong forever. He's literally been
Yeah.
strong forever. And the Witch Doctor has been strong forever too. I just finally got around
Yeah.
to changing the Witch Doctor because I like the Witch Doctor, but the Witch Doctor is a very it does suck the fun out
I mean, so does the Warden.
playing against it, and maybe the Warden
And
does too.
if you pick an all stacking team and I pick Valkyrie, Valkyrie does too.
Right. But the thing is, you can still play
Yeah.
against the Witch Doctor. The zone control that the Witch Doctor has was stronger than anything else in the game.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, if they were paired with literally anyone, it was just like that fight becomes one less. 2v2s are 2v1s. And that too is
Yeah,
like,
I think
it's like really bad.
I think in a game where you only have 3 characters on board and you can only really move 2 freely, CC on a single character can be incredibly game changing.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel that with the Warden, and I definitely felt that with the old Witch Doctor. And yeah, that might be a good argument for changing the Warden.
Well, the only thing I'm
but
changing on the Warden is going to be because the cost that it is to do that is more than is more than it looks like on paper, because you have to consider how much energy you get a turn, and that that means you're taking an extra yellow every turn to lock somebody down every turn.
it costs you half your energy every turn.
Right, and that is important to know. So I don't think it's too strong. I think it is
No.
strong for what it is. But
I
him
mean,
being
you
able
could
to
have made
move-
exactly the same argument about the old Witch Doctor.
Well, I did, and I don't think that the Witch Doctor was too strong. It was just too annoying to play against. And I don't
But
like
the Warden
that.
has the same thing.
Except he doesn't do 6 damage while he does it. Every
I mean, I
time.
actually find the Warden a bit more annoying because the old Witch Doctor was 12 health. So, like, if you made a bad move with the Witch Doctor, I could still kill him pretty easily. 16 health on the Warden puts him out of reach of death a lot of the time. So even if you make a misplay with the Warden, it's hard for me to, like, capitalize on it.
It's harder, yeah. But like, the thing is that he's still not as impactful as old Witch Doctor was. Like, I'm not trying to cut that like the Warden any slack, but it's like we're literally talking about, I designed the Witch Doctor to be able to do 6 damage every turn. Every turn they can do 6 damage. Now it costs all your energy. But
Yeah.
That's 6 damage.
6 damage for 4 energy is not very good.
Look, we're talking about 6 damage for 4 energy, and you can't do anything.
On one character, but I still have 2 other characters.
Right, that's half life. On a lot of characters. Like, that's an incredible amount. And no matter how you slice it, she turns fights to where you're down a character. And with 3 with 3 on the map, one of them is typically a tank. You're not hitting the tank. You're knocking out a DP.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of the same way with both the Warden and the Old Witch Doctor, though. Like, they both kind of play like that, and that's just a function of having a strong CC character in a low character count game. Like, I don't think there's any mechanical way to get around that. If you make a character that has effective CC in a low character count game, that's going to be how it plays out. That's why in games like Darkest Dungeon, there's a limit on how much you can CC somebody. Like, every turn you CC somebody, they gain CC immunity. So you can't just like keep a character locked down.
That was still basically game 1 on the Witch Doctor. I'll see how it evolves. I'm gonna nerf the ult because it is really strong, but I didn't know if it would be strong enough without it. So we'll see. But I think it'll be fine. Honestly,
with it costing 6 energy, like, that's a lot, but it's still doable turn 2.
Yeah.
So if you just ult turn 2, that is 15 damage that is gonna happen, because like I don't think I've ever seen any game only go like 4 turns.
Right. Not without somebody quitting or something, yeah.
Yeah. And then because it only costs 6 energy, you can do it on turn 2, have 2 energy left over, and then do it again on turn 3. And now you've done 30 damage in 3 turns.
Yeah. Which gets mitigated if I just take the damage off. And then at least it'll take a lot longer to do. And then it sets up for the rest of her kit, because then she can spend the 2 reds to detonate those poison marks on someone once they get in range. I think she's still strong.
Yeah.
Without, but right now, I think it still looks like she needs the ult, at least 1 ult, before she can do real damage.
I mean, you still have the kind of like berserker kind of damage dump you can do, because you could toxify somebody, and if they can't immediately close gap and kill the Witch Doctor, on the next turn, assuming you have 3 reds,
you
can toxify Devour, and now you've done 8 damage for 4 reds,
and that's
which is pretty good.
8 damage for 4 reds is standard for a melee class.
Yeah.
Which is
for a melee class.
Right.
But it's really good for a ranged class.
Right, for sure. But the thing is that you have to have, that's a lot of reds, which is why I think it's fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's the standard conversion. It's just, it goes back to like what you were talking about before with like utility. Like, is that a fair amount of utility?
Yeah.
Because the other thing is you don't need to drop the Devour. Like, you could just still keep just drop and toxify on people, and then save the Devour if you need to finish somebody off for some reason.
Right, because it is like burst damage over, like, that's where that nuke is for sure. The potential nuke comes from Devour. But Brian, I'm going to close this out. Okay.
Yeah.
We've been saying that for about a half hour, but we have good conversations in here about this, so no one can politic with me about this like you can. So. But I'll post this.
Arguably, I just talk myself around in circles sometimes, though.
Sometimes you do, and I have to like reel you back. Like, wait. You're leading down.
Well, I'll start talking about something and be like, this is bad. And then like 5 minutes in, I'm like, actually, this is really good.
It's actually really good. It's like, well, yeah, Brian, that's what I was saying. And you're like, oh, yeah, it's this. I'm like, okay, look. Wait a second. Let me stop you. But yeah, okay.
Well, usually what it comes down to is I'm like, this feels really bad, and I'm start trying to come up with reasons like, why does this feel bad?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you like this is bad, and you're like, well, actually, it's really good. And I'm like, eventually I come around and I'm like, you're actually right. It's really good, but I just don't like it.
Right, and those are two different things.
Yeah,
Sometimes. So, but I'm gonna put
but I
this.
don't. I don't just like leaving something like, oh, I don't like this, because I feel like that's shitty feedback.
It
I
is
want to
shitty
be able to
feedback.
tell you why I don't like it.
Yeah, and so like I said, we have some good conversations. So sometimes I hear it and I'm like, okay, uh, I hear what you like, how you feel about it right now, but there is reason behind it. There is logic behind it. There is like it works most of the time. Sometimes there are things where you
Yeah,
point out and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's something that I need to address. But other things like when we got to talking about the Valk and the Warden, it's like, okay, initially I was like, oh wait, okay, maybe this is like way too weak. But then like I look at my own design and I remember like why I did what I did, and it's like, no, this is strong for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason, and I designed it this way to
yeah,
keep them unique and strong in different areas. Now, what people value, that they're gonna value different things, as far as like what the value is. So is Warden's value more valuable than another tank's? To some people, yeah. And don't get me wrong, because if I'm in that list, it's much harder to make an objective, like, opinion on it when I feel personally like the Warden is the best tank. So it's a little hard for me to be like, well, no, this other tank, I think this is better because I don't personally
well,
feel like that.
yeah. I think the Warden is the easiest to see his power, because like when you pick a tank, like I feel like the thing that you think of on the top of your list of things a tank should do is like keep people away from my fucking team, and like the Warden is the only one that really effectively does that.
Yeah. And then the
Like
other
they all
ones
have
just do
uses, they
different
all have
things.
things
Yeah.
that they do that are good. The Warden just does tank best.
Yeah. Okay, look, we're out of here. All right.
Yeah,
We
I already
are.
closed it.
Okay. I'm gonna stop the stream, and I'm gonna put this on YouTube tomorrow probably. All we did was play one game, but I knew that we would only be playing one game, and then all the rest of our stuff would just be talking about the one game. So that's fine. But I'm gonna close this out. So thanks for tuning in or watching this VOD or whatever it is you're gonna do, and hope to see you in the next video.